Hello everyone, I'm Tyra Jones, and I'm back with Pippi the Unbroke. It's probably been about a week and a half since the last time we videoed, and she's been a challenge in terms of getting her despooked. There's actually 4 video clips of that part of it. I have had a saddle on her, I have put weight in each side of the stirrup, I have ponied her out on trail with one of my broke horses, and I have put the bridle on her one time and done some groundwork with the bridle. So what I'm going to go over today is actually how to properly bridle a horse and teach them to accept the bit. I'm not one of those trainers that rides in a halter and a lead rope for a while. I like to teach the horse in the cavesson and get them used to that type of pressure, and then I like to move on to the bit right away. It's just a matter of opinion on the way that it works best for everyone. But for me, I'm going to ride my horse in a bit, so I'd like to start to introduce him to the bit. I've done a lot of groundwork prior to this, so we've had, I think, 12 sessions up to this point, but I'm just going to show you how we start asking the horse to lower its head in preparation for the bridle. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to suit her up in her halter and her lead rope. I have the bridle sitting over there, and I'm going to get ready to do that as soon as I show you the first step. My left hand is going to go over the bridge of her nose, and that's simply to take her head and steer it back and forth. Sometimes they'll whip their head to the right, or they'll want to hit you with their head. And it's important that you can steer their head so that you don't get hit in the face with their head, because their head is really bony right here. I've had a cracked eye socket from that before. So I'm awfully careful at making sure I can take the head away and bring it close to me. So that's my left hand's job. The right hand's job is I'm going to take the heel of my hand on the right side, and I'm just going to add a little bit of pressure right between the pole. Now, to be quite honest, I played with this for 3 minutes before we started, just for the sake of time, to see how long it was going to take me. So what you're seeing right now is kind of what happened after about 3 minutes of work with her. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try and focus on keeping her neck and her head in between her 2 front legs. So my right hand is going to apply pressure to her pole right between her ears. And as she starts and begins to drop her head, I'm going to take that pressure away. My goal is that she's going to slightly turn her head towards me, like she's almost giving me a hug, and her head remains below my belt buckle or below my belly button. Okay, once I get to that point, then I know I'm almost ready to go get the bridle. There's one more thing that I like to do with the horses to make sure and ensure that they understand how to open their mouth. When you're going to put the bridle on, my thumb on my left hand is going to be what inserts into the horse's mouth. So I'm going to make sure that she understands that she needs to open her mouth when she does that. So what I'll start doing is I'll keep my hand again over the bridge of the nose, and on this side I'll just take 2 fingers up at the corner of the mouth where there is no teeth, and I'll just take my fingers and put them in her mouth until she opens her mouth, and then I immediately take them out. Okay, that's just to prep her so she understands that when I put my thumb on the other side, she needs to open her mouth. Okay, so I would play with that for a good 15-20 minutes. And again, I have had horses that are major bridling issues that have taken me 9 hours sometimes to get the bridling done. But this is extremely important if you're going to ever want a horse to be polite when you're bridling it. Okay, so at this point in time, I take the halter off. Okay, I always try to make sure that I'm in a closed area though. I'm not big on putting the reins over the head first, because sometimes the horses will back up and they'll want to get away from me. If that's what they're doing, then I need to back up in the training. So I always just put the whole bridle over my left wrist. I'm going to do the same thing that I did, and I'm going to ask her to lower her head, and then I'm going to get ready to switch the bridle to my right hand. Now right there you see she added resistance and pulled upwards. Okay, and I'm just going to keep her head in between her 2 front feet. You can see she might start to back up. I'm just going to follow along with her. I'm going to bring my knee down here, and I'm going to open and cradle the bit. The left finger is going to go into her mouth. I'm going to follow her. I'm going to bend her right ear, put the bridle on, bend her left ear through, put the bridle on. And that's basically the first bridling almost. Now, like I said, she's had it on before, but she isn't perfect about accepting how to put the bridle on. The one thing I want to go over is bridle fit. Okay, so the chin strap on the bridle should be loose enough that you could put about 2 fingers in between it. This doesn't get tight, because as the horse starts to work and starts to stretch their neck, you don't want this cutting into their neck, because the gullet needs to stay open. These are my bridles that I designed. Okay, and I do sell these online. The reason that I designed these bridles this way, there's a reasoning behind this. First of all, the entire thing is fully adjustable. Okay, so there's a reason why I have a noseband here. Sometimes on unbrokes or horses that are uneducated, they'll open their mouth just because they simply don't understand bit pressure, which is normal. And sometimes when you apply pressure, the bit will slide through. Okay, the noseband keeps the sides of my bridle from opening up. So if pressure is applied and she opens her mouth, the bit can't slide through. That's the only reason that's there. It's loose enough that I can keep 2 fingers in between it. Okay, so it's not meant to be super tight. It's not there to have the horse's mouth shut. And it does slide up and down, so that way if a horse has a smaller face or a bigger face, we can adjust it. Okay, when I go to do the brow band, this is also adjustable. The temporal bone on the horse on the side can sometimes become really irritated with bridles that hang down low. Okay, so with this you can also pull it up or down or slide it, and the front piece allows you to adjust that part. Okay. The other thing is, when I first put a bit in a horse's mouth, I tighten it. Okay, to the point where they're really smiling and they have a lot of wrinkles here. As a few days go by, I loosen it. Okay. Sometimes the horse can get their tongue over the bit. I don't really worry about that too much in the beginning, because if I stop every time they do that and readjust my bridle, then it almost becomes a habit. I don't necessarily ignore it either. So I try to figure out what the issue is there. If they're uncomfortable, if they have a low palate, if the snaffle bit is hitting them in the top of the mouth, then sometimes I'll make a bit adjustment. So I'm always going to work pretty much in a full cheek snaffle or an egglet snaffle or an O-ring snaffle, because that's the gentlest, mildest bit I can start with. So basically, the reins that I'm using as well are mine. So the buckles you can adjust. You can make the reins longer or shorter. Since Pippi's a little horse, the reins are about, I think, 7 foot, but my reins go up to 9. So that way I can slide the buckles back and forth and I can adjust the bridle. Okay, so that's a little bit of reasoning behind why I'm using this piece of equipment. And again, it's been a lot of adjustments from a lot of different bridles and bits I've used over the years to make me come to this conclusion. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the lunge line to the bit, and when we come back on the next clip, I'm going to show you what to do, the first steps after you introduce the bit to the horse for the first couple rides. Okay, so I'm Tyra Jones, and catch us on the next clip of how to use the bridle properly for your unbroke horse.